All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something you've probably heard a lot about, mindfulness. But how did this ancient practice become this massive multi-billion-dollar thing? Let's figure it out.
Okay, let's just start with the numbers, because they're pretty wild. By 2027, we're talking about a market for mindfulness meditation apps projected to be worth, get this, $4.4 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. And that's not some far-off guess. Right now, just one app, Headspace, has over 65 million users around the globe. To give you some perspective, that is more people than the entire population of Italy. All of them looking for a little peace and quiet through their phones. And it's not just you and me on our phones, it's gone totally corporate. Even back in 2018, over half, 52% of all companies were offering some kind of mindfulness training to their employees. You know, trying to cut down on stress, maybe get a little more productivity. So you see these numbers, right? And you have to wonder, how on earth did we get here? How did this ancient, really personal practice blow up into this global, corporate, multi-billion-dollar machine? What's the real story behind this whole mindful revolution? Well, believe it or not, our story doesn't start in some ancient, remote monastery. It actually starts with this tough kid from the streets of New York who grew up to be a molecular biologist. His name is Jon Kabat-Zinn, and a lot of people call him the father of this whole modern mindfulness movement.
He said he was always kind of straddling two different worlds. On one hand, his dad was this brilliant scientist. On the other, his mom was a painter. And that mix, that balance between the analytical and the artistic, well, it pretty much defined his entire life's work.
So his path takes this really interesting turn while he's at MIT, of all places. He's deep in his PhD work, studying with a Nobel Prize winner no less, when he decides to go to a talk by a Zen teacher. That's when he starts meditating. But the real aha moment, that wouldn't happen for another 14 years.
He's on a meditation retreat, and then bam, it just hits him. He calls it a 10-second vision, this flash of insight that was so unbelievably clear, so powerful, that it was like a complete blueprint just downloaded into his brain. The vision? How to bring meditation right into the heart of Western medicine, to help people who were really suffering.
So, armed with this vision, in 1979, he goes and founds the Stress Reduction Clinic, right inside the University of Massachusetts Medical Center. But turning that 10-second flash into a real thing, well, that meant he was up against a huge challenge. I mean, you got to remember what the culture was like back then. In the late 70s, doctors and scientists saw stuff like meditation as being way out on the lunatic fringe. They were just allergic to anything that even smelled a little bit mystical or unscientific.
So his solution was just brilliant. It was all in the framing. He basically said, look, calling mindfulness Buddhist is like saying gravity is Italian just because Galileo was involved. He argued that this is a universal human capacity. It's something fundamental to how the mind works, and it has nothing to do with one specific culture or religion.
And that is how we got this definition. It's totally secular, it's practical, and it's universal. He just stripped away all the language that might freak out a doctor or a patient. And in doing so, he basically created the master key that unlocked the door for mindfulness to go mainstream.
But Kabat-Zinn's revolution didn't just pop up out of nowhere. He was actually building on a foundation that had been laid down for over 100 years as these Eastern ideas slowly trickled into the West. The ground was already fertile for his idea to really take off. And you can really see how this journey was kind of like a slow burn. It starts way back in 1881 when the West finally gets a word for it, mindfulness. Fast forward to 1965, and there's a huge shift. A new Immigration Act brings these really influential Asian teachers to the U.S., and they start planting the seeds. That perfectly sets the stage for Kabat-Zinn in '79 to come in and repackage it for the medical world. And by 2014, well, the slow burn had turned into a full-on wildfire. It lands right on the cover of Time magazine.
So this historical journey, plus the smart secular reframing, it opened the floodgates for scientific research. And now, after decades of studies, we know that this practice doesn't just make you feel different. It can literally, physically change the structure of your brain.
And just look at what's actually going on in there. The prefrontal cortex, that's your focus and decision-making hub,
it gets thicker. Your amygdala, which is basically the brain's panic button, it becomes less reactive. That means you're not getting hijacked by stress all the time. The connections to your insula get stronger, that's your self-awareness center. And your hippocampus, which is crucial for emotional stability, it gets a boost too. This kind of hard science, this was really the final piece of the puzzle. It was undeniable proof.
And for Kabat-Zinn, this is about way more than just feeling good. He argues that in the world we live in now, with all its immense challenges, from pandemics to climate change, that this ability to be fully present, to actually be awake to our own lives, isn't some kind of luxury. It's an absolute necessity.
So after this incredible journey, right, from these ancient texts all the way to billion-dollar apps, we're left with the big question. Is mindfulness just another wellness fad that's going to fade away? Or is it a fundamental human skill, a survival skill maybe, for navigating the 21st century, one that we're only just now beginning to rediscover?